I'm telling you this not as a motivational slogan, but as a truth that far too many people go their entire lives without fully grasping. If you train your mind to stay clear under pressure, you can win in any situation. Because once you are strong on the inside, nothing outside can break you. This isn't just philosophy. This is neuroscience applied to real life. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they neglect the most critical control center of all, their own mind. They spend a lifetime trying to control work, relationships, habits, and forget to lead the one thing that governs them all, their thoughts. When your thinking is weak, emotions will run your life. When your mind is chaotic, you fall behind. But when your mind is trained, sharp, and grounded, you become the person who doesn't panic, doesn't quit, doesn't get shaken, even when everything around you is in chaos. I'm not here to give you a quick jolt of inspiration and disappear. I'm here to wake you up, to awaken the conscious, powerful, and intentional part of you that's been asleep. I want to help you raise your standards. Standards based on your ability to handle pressure, stay calm in chaos, and keep moving forward when the world pushes back. And no, it doesn't begin with inspiration, it begins with structure, a clear choice, a serious standard of living. And the first step starts right here, the moment you open your eyes in the morning. You want to take control of your life? Start by taking control of the first hour of your day. This is not advice, this is biology. The first hour after waking is when your brain is most sensitive and most programmable. If you let noise invade, messages, negativity, negative news, you're handing the wheel to the world. You haven't even stood up, but your mind has already been hijacked. That's why so many people feel tired, lost, scattered all day, because they never led themselves from the start. On the other hand, if you wake up and consciously choose your thoughts, you're resetting your internal operating system. I'm not talking about positive vibes. I'm talking about neurological clarity, about waking up and giving your central nervous system a direction. Your mind doesn't wait until you're ready. It starts running the moment you open your eyes. The question is, do you let it run wild or do you program it with purpose? Most people let the day dictate their emotions. They wait for a text, a compliment, a bit of luck to feel good. That's reactive living, not conscious leadership. And a reactive mind will never win. You must take the lead. The moment you wake up, take 1 minute, just one, and speak truth to yourself. Not cliches, but honesty. Say, today I will stay awake. Today I will move forward. Today I will not let useless thoughts drain my energy. Because you don't need 10 hours of planning, you need one decision. And it starts the moment you rise. The first hour is not for reacting, not for scrolling. It is your mental gym, your training ground. And if you don't write your own story at the start of the day, someone else will write it for you. So here's the challenge I give you. Don't touch your phone in the first hour. No messages, no notifications. No one gets access to your inner territory. Only you, your mission, and the clarity you build by choice. Let me repeat. Inner power doesn't begin when life falls apart. It begins with discipline at the very beginning of your day. And here's the truth I want you to hold on to. If you let the weaker part of you win the morning, it will win the whole day. But if you overcome it, right there in the first few minutes, you're not just winning a morning, you're training your nervous system to win yourself. I'm not telling you this just to make you feel good for a moment. I'm telling you this because I want you to transform for real, and lasting transformation doesn't begin with something dramatic. It begins in what may seem like the smallest moment, the moment you open your eyes in the morning. You don't need to do anything heroic right then, but you do need to choose. Choose between letting your mind be pulled by the world or grabbing the wheel and leading yourself. That moment, just a few seconds, is where victory or defeat for the rest of your day begins. I know you've heard advice about waking up early, meditating, or journaling, but what I want you to see goes deeper than any particular habit. What matters most is the neural state you consciously create the moment you wake up. As soon as you open your eyes, your nervous system is shifting from deep rest into red. That's when your brain is most sensitive, wide open to the first direction you give it. And if you don't choose that direction intentionally, the world will choose it for you. A negative headline, an email that triggers anxiety, a post that makes you compare yourself, one swipe of your phone, and you've already lost your power. You're not in control anymore. You're reacting. I don't want you to live like that. I want you to wake up and become the leader of your inner world. This doesn't require shouting affirmations or being rigid. It only requires one deliberate decision the moment you wake up. Today, I will think clearly. I will not let unnecessary noise invade my mind. I will protect this mental space for what truly matters. That's it. But if you do this consistently, it will rewire your entire inner operating system. Your brain starts forming a new reflex. When I wake up, I lead. When I wake up, I direct. When I wake up, I don't wait to see how the world treats me. I already know how I will treat the world. Do you know what happens when you begin the day with a weak decision? You drag through the hours in a fog. You let small frustrations control your emotions. You let one careless comment make you doubt yourself. You get pulled in every direction. And by evening, you wonder why you couldn't focus, why your energy collapsed, why you missed the mark. I'll tell you why. It's not because you lacked ability. It's because you handed over your mind to the outside world in the very first moment. You gave up your power before the day even began. So here's my challenge for you. Starting tomorrow, spend the first 10 minutes after waking doing one thing only: lead yourself. Don't touch your phone. Don't check email. Don't react. Stay with yourself. Sit up. Breathe deeply. Speak clearly to yourself. I wake to lead. I wake to focus. I wake not to be ruled by random emotions. Write down 3 things you know are truly important today. Nothing fancy, just the truth. Let your brain know this is what I am moving toward and I am ready for it. When you repeat this daily, you're not just shaping mindset, you're reprogramming your nervous system for clarity. You don't need to be perfect to begin, but you do need to begin with a fully conscious state. If you wake up late, rush out of bed, and are immediately pushed around by obligations and noise, you're not living by intention, you're living by reflex. I'm not telling you to become some high-performance robot. I'm inviting you to reclaim your right to live with self-leadership. And that power doesn't start in a moment of crisis. It begins in the quietest seconds, like when your feet first touch the floor in the morning. Your nervous system is incredibly intelligent. It learns fast. If you wake up each day and let the world get in first, it learns to react. But if you wake up and set a strong, intentional, clear mental state, it learns to lead. And that changes everything. Your energy in meetings, how you handle pressure, how you respond to criticism, how you stay focused. All of it traces back to the mental software you install each morning. And I want you to understand this. You can't wait for inspiration every morning. Some days you'll feel tired. Some days you'll want to postpone. That's the weaker part of you speaking up. But listen, I'm telling you, if you let that part win in the first hour, it will control the rest of you all day long. So name it, call it out, then walk straight through it. Remind yourself, I don't live by emotion, I live by values. I am the one who shapes my own behavior. Do this long enough and you won't have to force it anymore. Your own mind will start guiding you, not resisting you. I'm not promising it will always be easy, but I am promising you this. If you begin with clarity, you're laying a foundation that nothing can shake. And from that foundation, you can build anything. A high-quality day, a focused week, a life that no longer gets pulled by randomness. If you can't control your attention, you can't control your life. Your mind is not an open field that can be left to the wind each day. It is a delicate architecture, something you must deliberately design, protect, and strengthen. And in today's world, where everything is screaming for your attention, letting your mind drift is not harmless, it is surrender. It is the behavior of someone losing, not because they're weak, but because they haven't realized what they're truly losing. I want you to picture this clearly. Your mind cannot function at its highest capacity when it is scattered. It needs focus, a quiet zone to process, an internal space to reflect, and a clean enough canvas for your inner strength to rise. But if you allow a single notification to break your flow, if a mindless scroll pulls you from your task, if a meaningless conversation clutters your mental space, then don't be surprised if by the end of the day, you feel drained, scattered, and no closer to anything that truly matters. You're not failing because you lack ability. You're failing because you keep giving away your most valuable resource to things that never deserved it in the first place. That resource is focus. And if you don't treat your focus as the soul of achievement, you'll watch it get stolen day after day without even noticing. Let me tell you this. Every time you get interrupted, you don't just lose time, you lose depth. The human brain is not built for multitasking. Every time you switch between streams of input, you're not only spending neurological energy, you're breaking the flow state that only comes when you're deeply immersed in one single thing. The most creative, powerful, calm people all have one thing in common. They protect their focus like it's life itself. So why do so many people know this, but still repeat the same distracted behavior? Because distraction has become a nervous system reflex. You don't have to think before reaching for your phone. You don't need intent to open a new tab. It's not a decision anymore, it's a default. And that's why I'm telling you, to win, you don't just need more discipline, you need to restructure your entire relationship with information. This doesn't come from willpower alone. It comes from the environment you create. If your phone is always within reach when you're working, you're inviting distraction. If notifications are on all day, you're training your brain to be hijacked. And if you don't have at least one sacred block of uninterrupted time, even just 30 minutes, where your thoughts can breathe and your effort goes uninterrupted, then you're trying to build a fortress on a cracked foundation. I need you to take this seriously. Reset your rules. Anything that pulls your attention away from what matters needs to go. No negotiation, no halfway. If an app keeps pulling you back, delete it. If a conversation keeps pulling you off course, walk away from it. If a habit keeps draining your depth, replace it with one that renews your clarity. You don't need to lose everything before you start protecting your mind. You need to start now. I know it's not easy. There will be times you'll want to just check once, moments you'll say just a few seconds, but I'm telling you, that's how the old pattern sneaks back in. And if you don't stand firm with new principles, you'll start to drift day by day until you lose the depth that once made you powerful. So starting today, I challenge you, choose just one window of time, just one, where you protect your focus like a flame. No one gets to interrupt you. No device gets to intrude. Just you, your mission, your awareness, and the firm decision. I am here. I am present. I will not be pulled anymore. Do it for one day, then repeat it the next. Don't worry about the next 3 months. Just make sure tomorrow you keep your word. You'll witness something powerful. You'll feel your mind begin to align. A steadiness will return to your voice, your eyes, the way you walk, because you're no longer drifting. You're steering. I'm not telling you to live in isolation. I'm not asking you to abandon technology. I'm asking you to choose again. Choose what deserves your time. Choose what deserves your mind. And from those choices, each day, you will rebuild yourself. You don't need perfection. You don't need speed. You just need to stop being pulled away, because once you reclaim your consistent focus, you can start building anything you truly want with integrity, with depth, and with a clarity few people possess in this age of constant distraction. In a world where people speak so easily, promising, declaring, announcing, how many truly live by what they say? The answer may surprise you. And the reason I bring this to your attention is not only because it affects how others see you, but more importantly, because it shapes how you see yourself. If you truly want to build a strong mind, a nervous system that can endure pressure and stay grounded, The first foundation is this: consistency between your words and your act. Without it, you will live in an invisible fracture, no matter how strong you appear on the outside. I speak from experience and from years of studying human behavior and neuroscience. Every time you say something and don't follow through, you're not just breaking a promise to others, you're sending a quiet message to yourself: I'm not trustworthy. And if you repeat that often enough, you create a mental groove of self-doubt, low confidence, and worst of all, you stop believing your own promises, even the ones you make silently. The danger is that this loop doesn't strike all at once. It builds up. You promise to wake up early, then hit snooze. You plan to work out, but blame the weather. You intend to call someone, then delay it again. These small acts seem harmless, but in reality, they silently erode your self-respect until one day, when you say, I will, a part of you instantly whispers, will you really? I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty. I'm saying it so you see the truth. Inner strength doesn't begin with external pressure. It begins with the self-trust that when you say something, you will do it even if no one sees. And you can't build that trust by reading a book or watching a video. You must earn it through your own small, repeated acts of integrity. You might say, I don't need to be so strict with myself. My intentions are good. But I ask you, if you live only by intention without action, will you trust yourself in the face of real challenges? Will you be able to say, I will overcome, without doubting it deep down? I doubt it. Because confidence doesn't come from speaking. It comes from proving over and over again. You must also be ready for the harder test. Doing what you said you'd do when no one is watching, no one is reminding you, and no one is praising you. That's where real discipline is born. That's when you face the moment alone, standing between the easy excuse and the hard follow-through. And I'll tell you, when you follow through, you don't just complete a task, you change your identity. You become the kind of person who no longer needs to prove anything to anyone, because you are the first person who truly believes in you. I know there will be times you fall short, you'll forget, you'll be late, you'll break a promise. That's okay. What matters most is not that you never fall. It's whether you have the courage to admit it, correct it, and return to your path. Remember, it's your response after the mistake that defines who you really are. You can justify or you can realign. And every time you choose to realign, you rebuild trust that once cracked. Let me leave you with this. One of the highest forms of strength is alignment between your word and your action. It doesn't require a spotlight. It doesn't need applause. Just one person who lives quietly, consistently, and honestly by what they say, through time, through pressure, through silence. That person becomes the one others trust instinctively, because truth, steadiness, and reliability create a kind of presence that others feel without you ever needing to perform. So from this day forward, treat your words like contracts, not because others demand it, but because you deserve to live by a standard that doesn't need supervision. A standard where when you say, I will, you do. Simple, direct, no need for emotion, no audience, just a real commitment and a matching action. And from there, something powerful begins to happen. You no longer have to appear strong because you are becoming truly strong. Finishing something may seem simple, but it's where true inner strength is built, because not everyone who starts will finish. What holds people back isn't lack of ability, it's fluctuating emotions. When the excitement fades, when exhaustion kicks in, when things stop being easy, very few have the consistency to complete what they began. Emotions are unstable. Some days you feel energized, some days you don't want to do anything. If your actions depend on your emotions, your results will always be inconsistent. A person ruled by emotion is often good at starting, but rarely finishes. It's not because they lack intelligence or skill. It's because they lack one crucial principle. No matter how I feel, I finish. Behind procrastination is not just laziness, it's the permission we give ourselves to choose temporary comfort over long-term commitment, a promise unkept, a plan abandoned, a goal that fades into the background. Not because it was impossible, but because fleeting emotion spoke louder than discipline. And the more that cycle repeats, the thinner your self-trust becomes. Finishing does not require inspiration. It requires clarity. I'm doing this because I chose to, and I'll see it through, whether I feel like it or not. That simple commitment begins to rewire your brain's belief system. When you complete something despite being tired, you send your nervous system a signal. This is someone who can be counted on, even under pressure. The habit of finishing builds neurological stability. Every time you act instead of hesitate, complete instead of delay, you carve a new imprint in your identity. I am someone who follows through. Strong people aren't more motivated, they're more consistent. Even when there's no spark from outside, quitting halfway doesn't just mean a missed goal. It wounds the relationship between you and yourself. Every time you don't finish, you're teaching your brain that giving up is an option when things get hard. And that becomes a pattern. From one task, it spreads to your way of living, your work, your health, even your relationships. To break that cycle, start small. Pick something unfinished and complete it. It doesn't have to be big or dramatic. Just honor your own word. Maybe it's a half-written piece, a plan you started but never executed, a workout you scheduled but skipped. Pick one and finish it. That completion, however minor, creates a chain reaction in your brain. You begin to remember the feeling of winning through action, not through mood. The most resilient people aren't always joyful. They are those who can bypass fleeting emotion and complete what matters. When that behavior is repeated daily, the brain no longer asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" It simply says, "This is what we do, no matter what." That's when neural strength is formed. Not because someone's watching, not because you're being pushed, but because an inner standard has been set. If I begin, I finish. The greatest reward of completion is not external, it's internal transformation. Those who finish consistently don't waver with their moods. They live by principle. They act even when they're quietly struggling. And step by step, they develop the most important ability of all, to lead themselves even when motivation is gone. Consistency is not born from comfort. It is forged when you have enough clarity to keep going, when your body is tired, your mind resists, and your emotions withdraw. In that moment, if you still finish, you've crossed a threshold where most give up. And if you do that long enough, you won't need to force it anymore, because finishing has become your default. You don't need to be extraordinary to go all the way. You only need to keep your word to yourself, one small promise at a time, no matter how you feel. And then one day you'll realize nothing can stop you anymore, because your momentum no longer depends on your mood. You don't need inspiration. You have discipline. You don't need motivation. You have identity. And you don't need anyone to validate it, because you are the living proof of a person who finishes what they start. Clarity of thought is not truly tested when life is going well. It only reveals its strength when the world around you begins to collapse. When plans derail, when someone you trust walks away, when work veers off course, when emotions pile up and reality turns chaotic, that's when your mind stands at a crossroads. React impulsively or respond with awareness. Most people choose the first because it's easier. Immediate reactions, rush, judgments, blame, and desperate attempts to escape confusion. But the truly strong are those who pull themselves out of the noise and look again from a clearer, calmer, yet compassionate place within. Very few are trained to think in crisis. Most of life teaches us to chase comfort, avoid uncertainty, and react from emotion. But if you live long enough, you'll come to realize one thing. Storms are inevitable, and only those who can think clearly in the middle of a storm will remain standing. Clear thinking doesn't mean you always know what to do. It means you pause long enough to avoid doing the wrong thing. It's the ability to step back from anger, despair, shame, or guilt, to view the situation from a deeper, steadier vantage point. When the world around you breaks down, the first thing to collapse is often perception. You start to lose your sense of distinction. Everything feels too big, too fast, too heavy. Your brain in survival mode shifts into defense, react now, but that immediate reaction often causes long-term damage. A hasty decision, a regrettable word, an impulsive move to ease discomfort. And so you spiral further into chaos, where control slips further from your hands. To resist the pull, you need a mental skill no one formally teaches, but you can learn: the art of stopping. In the very moment your mind urges you to react, choose to observe. When emotions surge, breathe deeply and ask, what am I thinking right now? What am I afraid of? What am I trying to avoid? These questions don't need immediate answers, but asking them is a sign that you still hold the wheel of your mind. Clear thinking in chaos doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means not letting emotion dictate your actions. You acknowledge the truth even when it hurts. You face what's happening without sugarcoating, without pretending. And that act of facing reality is the beginning of a way out, not from the outside, but from within. Once you can hold your mind steady in the storm, you're no longer a victim of circumstances. You've become a guide. To do that, you need a system for identifying your thoughts. When emotions rise, instead of letting them control you, treat them as data. This is anger. This is disappointment. This is pain. Naming the emotion reduces activity in the brain's emotional centers. It's not spiritual, it's neuroscience. The moment you name the feeling, you create distance. You are no longer the emotion, you are watching it, and with that distance comes choice. People who think clearly in adversity don't feel less. They hurt too. They get confused. They feel broken. But they don't act when their mind is clouded. They wait for the water to settle. They hold off on conclusions. They step back. They write things down. They go for a walk. They stay silent, not out of helplessness, but because they're making space for wisdom to speak. It's not easy, it requires training. But just like muscles are built through pain and repetition, clear thinking is forged through repeated choices. React or reflect, rage or reason, escape or endure. And through each of those choices, you build a mind that doesn't break easily, a mind that can navigate life when no one else knows what to do. The greatest difference between those swept away by crisis and those who rise through it is not intelligence. It's the ability to preserve clarity when everything else turns murky. Like a deep sea diver who knows that when the sand is swirling, you can't see the bottom. The right response is not to flail, but to stay still, breathe, and wait. Your mind is the same. When chaos arrives, your greatest power is the space to look again calmly. Clarity is not light from above, it's light you create. From choosing silence when you could shout, from choosing reflection when you could react, from giving yourself time to understand before you rush to conclude. When you do that, you don't just survive this crisis, you learn how to walk through every future one because you no longer rely on external stability. You've begun to cultivate internal. And that, more than anything, is the one thing no one can take away from you. Calmness is not a personality trait. It's not a gift reserved for the naturally quiet. Calmness is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained. It doesn't matter who you are, how you've reacted in the past, or what kind of environment you grew up in. If you choose to train it, you can become someone who stays composed, even in the midst of a storm. In today's world where everything moves too fast, where everyone is rushing to respond, where emotions flare up with just one message, the ability to stay calm is a powerful advantage. It doesn't just help you manage situations, it gives you internal power, the ability to choose your response instead of being dragged by instinct. Most people react the moment they're triggered. A harsh word, a careless mistake, a small setback. Any of these can spark anger, panic, or collapse. And afterward, they often regret it for saying what they shouldn't have, for doing what didn't need to be done. But someone who has trained calmness creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, they don't let instinct take over. They observe, they breathe, they think, and they respond with clarity. That's what separates someone who merely reacts from someone who leads. Your nervous system reacts to stress with a built-in defense mechanism. Your heart rate spikes, your breath shortens, your body tenses, preparing for fight or flight. But if you don't know how to regulate this response, these survival instincts will lead to poor decisions. And mistakes made in moments of agitation can be incredibly costly. That's why high performers in every field, from the military to medicine, from sports to business, are trained to stay calm under intense pressure. They don't let their physiological state dictate their actions. They master their internal reactions so they can master their external behavior. Training calmness begins with something deceptively simple: noticing when you're losing it. Many people don't realize they're agitated. They're swept away by emotion before they know it. They lash out. They make reckless choices. They unload on others only to feel embarrassed or ashamed later. But someone who has trained awareness will catch it early. I'm being triggered. My body is reacting. That awareness opens the door to choice, and choice is what gives you control. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating calm is conscious breathing. When you inhale slowly, hold for a moment, and exhale longer than you inhale, you send a signal to your nervous system, we're safe. The sympathetic system quiets, heart rate drops, blood flow returns to the thinking brain, and within seconds you shift from primal reaction to calm clarity. This is not theory, it's proven by hundreds of neuroscience studies. And you can try it the next time emotions surge. You'll feel the difference instantly. Beyond breathing, you can train calmness by gradually exposing yourself to controlled pressure. This means deliberately placing yourself in situations that challenge your comfort, where you feel awkward, anxious, or stretched, and practicing internal steadiness, speaking in public, having a direct conversation about conflict, pushing your limits in physical training. Each moment is a small test for your nervous system, and over time, you raise your capacity to remain calm in conditions that once made you lose control. Staying calm doesn't mean being passive or avoiding issues. It's the ability to face challenges directly without being hijacked by negative emotions. Calm people still act, but their actions are measured. They still confront, but from a grounded place. That's why their words carry weight, their decisions have depth, and their presence commands attention without force or volume. This skill is more essential now than ever. The world is full of noise. Social media, media headlines, human interactions all can ignite anxiety, anger, or fear. Without the ability to stay calm, you'll constantly be swayed by public opinion, triggered by negativity, controlled by the moods of others. But when you have this skill, you become the still point in a spinning world. Others will look to you when they feel lost, not because you have all the answers, but because you're not getting swept away. That's a rare and invisible power. No one is born calm. They've just trained longer. And you can too. Each time you notice yourself getting pulled by emotion, pause, breathe, observe, wait a few more seconds before you respond. Each of these moments doesn't just help you avoid mistakes. They shape your nervous system. They redefine your relationship with yourself, not as someone who reacts, but as someone who can hold on to the light of reason even when darkness arrives. Because ultimately, calmness is not an external silence, it's internal stability. And once you've built that, nothing outside of you can truly shake you again. Habits don't just disappear, they lie dormant, waiting for the right moment to return. And when they do, if you don't have a new script ready to replace them, you'll fall right back into old patterns. This is not a personal flaw. It's simply how your brain works. The human brain resists change. It craves familiarity, even if that familiarity includes behaviors that harm you. Procrastination, self-doubt, guilt, emotional eating, losing control under stress, or giving up halfway. These reactions don't persist because they're right. They persist because you've repeated them for so long without conscious interruption. When you try to change, your brain fights back. It reminds you of your old version, the one it has learned to rely on for survival. That's why you can feel strong for a few days, only to suddenly feel the urge to quit or slide back into old ways. It's not because you're weak. It's because you haven't installed a replacement program strong enough to overwrite the old one. Behavior doesn't vanish through force. It gets replaced by new behavior, repeated often enough with intention and positive reinforcement. If you want to change a habit, you can't just say, I won't do that anymore. You must have a clear answer to what will I do instead. The brain doesn't understand no, it understands action. If you used to relieve stress by snacking, you can't just will yourself to not eat. You need a new reflex. Take a 5-minute walk, breathe deeply, call someone you trust, write down how you feel, or drink water and play calming music. You can't pull out an old habit without putting something in its place. The new script must be simple, specific, and executable in the exact moment of activation. You can't rely on willpower when you're already vulnerable. You must rely on your system, and that system must be built in advance while you're still clear-headed and strong. You need to sit down and write, when I feel B, I usually do A. From now on, I will replace it with C. Make this a behavioral map and read it every day. That's how you start writing a new operating manual for your brain. Don't wait until you've lost control to begin reacting. Train the new reflex beforehand by repeating it daily in safe conditions. If you want to build perseverance instead of quitting halfway, don't wait for pressure to start training. Practice in small, manageable ways. Finish your workout even when tired. Write your daily word count even when uninspired, or simply wash your dishes right after eating instead of letting them sit. These seemingly small acts are neurological workouts. They build new circuits to replace the old ones that have been running you on autopilot. You won't break bad habits through guilt, self-hate, or shame. In fact, shame often fuels destructive habits. When you mess up, your brain seeks comfort. And if the old habit is the easiest comfort, you'll go right back to it. What you need isn't punishment, it's a soothing response that doesn't harm you. Deep breathing, a moment of silence, placing your hand on your chest and repeating a kind affirmation, writing out your fear instead of letting it swallow you. You can't control whether old habits show up, but you can control how you respond when they do. And each time you choose a new action instead of falling back into the old one, you win. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to win forever. You just need to win right now, once, then again and again. That's how you retrain your mind. That's how you overwrite old programs with something steadier, stronger, and quieter, but no less powerful. Here's the most important part. Don't wait for the old habit to disappear before you start living. Live as if the new habit is already yours. Act before you feel ready. Do what's right, even when your mind hesitates, because it's not emotion that creates action, it's consistent action that reshapes emotion. And finally, remember this. You are not simply a person with bad habits. You are a system being rewritten. And each time you choose a new reflex over the old one, you're affirming something vital. You are living deliberately, not being driven by the past. You are no longer a product of circumstance. You are becoming a product of conscious intention. And that, one choice at a time, is how you become the version of yourself you were always meant to be. You're not strong because someone is watching. You're not disciplined because there's an audience. You're not great because you're being recognized. On the contrary, true strength, the kind that can't be faked or copied, is revealed only when no one sees, no one claps, no one cheers. When you're alone, and yet you still get up on time, train consistently, keep your promises to yourself, and resist small temptations, that is when your real power begins to take shape. In the quiet, in the dark, in moments only you will ever know about. We live in a time where almost every action can be recorded, shared, and judged. This creates an invisible pull to do things because someone might notice, because of likes, metrics, validation. But you cannot build a stable inner foundation if your drive is always external. Because when the spotlight fades, when no one praises your effort, when the applause stops, will you still continue? Will you do the right thing simply because it's right, not because it looks impressive? What happens when you're alone? When you could skip a workout and no one would know, break a promise and no one would call you out, choose the easy road and no one would care. That's when you face your true self. No roles, no societal pressure, just you and the decision you make in silence. That's where real strength is forged, not in grand gestures, but in hundreds of quiet choices where you uphold your standards, even when no one's watching. I've seen people who appear strong in front of a crowd, confident speeches, powerful declarations, big performances, but the moment the audience is gone, they let go. And then there are others, quiet, unseen, unfazed, who train daily, stay consistent, and keep every promise. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They're living in integrity with themselves. And that's what creates unshakable resilience. Real strength is not a burst of excellence, it's stability, built day after day through seemingly trivial actions, writing even when